guys, how are you guys all doing? I hope everyone is doing well. Where I live, it's still a little chilly. Some days it's warm and some days it's a little cold. The weather gets a little bipolar during the transition between winter and spring. So some days we can make warm rib sticking meals, or some days we can barbecue. It just depends on the day. So if anything here interests you or piques your interest, please hang out with me today while I cook up some easy meal ideas for you. Thanks for watching. Let's start off by making easy chicken and shrimp jambalaya by using 1 pound of sliced chicken breast, 2 boxes of Zatarain's jambalaya rice, peas and corn, kidney beans, olive oil, 1 pound of shrimp, and seasoning of your choice. Oh, and a shallot. The first thing that I like to do is marinate my shrimp and then season the chicken. For the shrimp, I just use olive oil, Old Bay, garlic powder, and pepper, or sometimes lemon pepper. This is also a good base for when making shrimp scampi. For the chicken, I like to cut it up into bite-sized pieces, and then I just season it with some seasoned salt and paprika. The paprika is mainly used to give it a good color, but I really don't think it would be the same without it. So I always use paprika whenever I'm making chicken. You don't really want to cook the chicken for too long, otherwise it will be overcooked and a little dry. So you can opt to use chicken thigh as a good substitute if you're really not a fan of white meat. And you're only going to cook it for a few minutes and then stir it around and then keep cooking it for a few more minutes until it's completely cooked all around. And you'll know when it's done when it's brown on all sides or it's firm to the touch. If you're unsure, cut a big piece open and make sure that it's cooked all the way through. This meal is my go-to whenever I'm really not in the mood to cook, but I have to get food in my kids' bellies, and it's guaranteed or almost guaranteed that they will eat it. And the easy element in this meal is the boxed rice mix. I make a lot of rice, mainly white rice or my kids' favorite orange rice, but this boxed rice, specifically the Zatarain's brand, is pretty good when making jambalaya. It has really good flavor from the seasoning, and the texture of the rice itself has a really good bite to it, rather than being mushy or flavorless like other brands. No one will ever know that you used boxed rice unless you told them. And just like that, within 30 minutes, you have a tasty and well-balanced meal on the table. It could feed an army, but it also tastes great left over too. Now let's make some pozole verde. I just used some country pork strips, jarred La Victoria green enchilada sauce, roast seasoning, chicken stock, and a medium can of hominy. I'm trimming off the fat from the pork, but a lot of it will melt off while you're browning it, so don't worry about the marbled fat inside of the meat. Then I just cut them up into a little bigger than bite-sized pieces. Right now you're just searing the pork to brown all sides, which adds so much flavor, so I suggest not skipping this step. Plus it releases extra water and fat that you really don't want or need. I do this in batches though, so you don't release too much water all at once and you're able to brown the meat better. Also, don't worry about cooking it all the way through. I add the bones that was on the meat to add extra flavor too, but don't worry about stirring that. Honestly, I wasn't sure how this enchilada sauce was going to taste in this soup. I've never made pozole verde before. Usually my family likes the red kind, but I wanted to try something different and I wanted to use up these jars that I got on rebate on Ibotta. And oh man, I had a good idea here. I wasn't expecting my kids to like it either, but I was pleasantly surprised that my whole family enjoyed it. I am all up for using fresh ingredients and making my own sauce, but sometimes it's just convenient to take advantage of store-bought ingredients. Thank you, La Victoria, for helping me out tonight. I added mozzarella and tortilla chips to the top to make it taste like an enchilada soup. I kind of do that with my tortilla chicken soup too, so I thought it would taste good in this, and it was. And you can also make this dish even easier by cooking it in a crock pot for 4 to 8 hours after browning the meat, or even an Instapot. I need to get myself one of those. I was in the mood for some Hawaiian food, so I decided to make my chicken teriyaki skewers, but I added some kielbasa sausage and pineapple to them, and then I decided to make some shrimp skewers as well. They're so simple to make, but they make a very pretty plate. Meat is still really expensive right now, so I try to use chicken thigh whenever I can to bring the cost down. And if you remove the bones yourself, it's even cheaper. Luckily, I already had most of everything that I needed, so all I bought was the pineapple, the teriyaki sauce, and the jasmine rice for this meal. make my own teriyaki sauce sometimes, but to make this dish easy, I use store-bought. This was the first time I bought this particular brand, but it was really good, and I'd get it again. It's not too thin or too thick, it's perfect for marinating and basting or even as a sauce. You can get fresh pineapple already cut for you at your local grocery store, but there's really nothing better than cutting it yourself. And I highly suggest not using canned pineapple, but if that's all you have, then it'll work in a pinch. If you're using a wooden skewer, you would need to soak them for 30 minutes before you start layering them with your meat. This will help prevent the skewer itself from burning when you go to grill them. But I have some metal skewers, so that's what I'm using. And I just layered them with chicken, a sausage coin, more chicken, a pineapple, more chicken, sausage, and then I topped it with a pineapple. You still want to season your meat even though they're marinated in the teriyaki sauce, so I use garlic salt because that's my favorite seasoning. For the shrimp skewers, I use my leftover kielbasa and wedge them between the shrimp, so it's kind of like hugging the sausage. I like doing it this way just because it looks pretty, and then I just season it with Old Bay. Keep it really simple. Again, with this kind of meat, the chicken and the shrimp doesn't take too long to cook, especially your shrimp. So lay your chicken down first, and then after you get it situated, then go ahead and lay down your shrimp, just to make sure that your meat is cooked at the same time. Your chicken should only take about 10 minutes altogether, and your shrimp probably 5 to 7 minutes. So these dishes are meant to be very simple. The only hard thing about this, or the time-consuming thing you could say, is just by taking your leftover teriyaki sauce that's in your bowl and putting it in a pan and let it simmer until it thickens. And then I also made a garlic butter sauce for my shrimp. I just put some butter in a pan with some garlic paste. You're more than welcome to use fresh or the minced kind from the jar. That'll work too. And then I put some parsley, and I think I put some garlic salt in there as well, just for a little bit of flavor. If not, it's not a big deal. And then I just brush that on the shrimp and the chicken at the very end, right after it's done cooking. If you're not comfortable using the leftover teriyaki sauce that your chicken was marinating in, I totally understand. I've been doing it for years. I've never had any issues with it, but if you're worried about the bacteria, then just simply take the leftover teriyaki sauce from your bottle and drizzle it over the top, and it'll be just as good. I just don't like to waste. And also I like my skewers a little bit more saucy, but my kids and my husband prefer it more on the light side, so that's why we didn't use too much. I just served this with a side of jasmine rice. Regular long grain white rice will do too, but I really wanted that fragrant rice with it just because it goes so well with it. It was so delicious, you guys. I would highly recommend making this. Out of all of the dishes that I've done so far, this one is definitely our favorite. To make it spicy, I just added some crushed red pepper flakes to the top, and this just elevated the dish even more. Alrighty, so we made it to my last dish. This is an easy Asabuko recipe that was inspired by a recipe that I saw on Pinterest. We just used some beef shanks and you oven roast it in a special sauce made with wine and tomatoes. So good, so delicious, so easy. The prep is not that hard. All you're doing is just dust the beef shank with some flour. This is your thickening agent. The only thing that I would suggest doing that I didn't do that well was remove all the fat from the meat because it can tend to be a little oily at the end. So make sure you do that. Don't do what I did. And also, you could also wrap the meat with a kitchen twine to keep the meat from falling apart. I didn't mind that so much. I actually prefer it that way because you're gonna pull it apart anyway when you're serving it up. So we're going simple and easy. So I start off by sauteing my onions and then I season them with some salt and pepper. And I season every element. I used some porterhouse seasoning and I usually use that for all of my roasts with some Italian seasoning. And you can omit any of this that you don't want on there. If you don't like garlic paste, don't put it. But I put garlic paste in there. And you just want to saute your onions up until they're a little translucent. Then you're going to add in some crushed tomatoes or some diced tomatoes. I had diced, that's all I had. A little bit of wine. You could put more in there if you want to. There's no measurements here. I just put a little bit because I didn't know if my kids were going to like it. Some tomato paste, and you just want to make sure that that tomato paste is completely dissolved. You don't want any clumps of tomato paste when you're eating. I used some chicken bouillon, but you can use chicken stock instead of bouillon if you want, or better than bouillon, that paste stuff works really good too. And then you just put all of your meat back in there, and your bones, of course, because that's added flavor like always, and some water. Like I said, you can use chicken broth or chicken stock instead, or even beef broth or beef stock if you want. And then I just nestle it in there, put some bay leaves in there, cover it up, and you're going to stick it in the oven. I wrapped the handles and the lid with some foil just so that they wouldn't burn, and I flipped the lid upside down so that it would fit in my toaster oven. And then I just cooked it at 350 for 2 hours. I'm just taking it out to get a good look at it, to see how far it's come. It's not quite falling off the bone yet. It still needs more time. So I'm just flipping it around, moving it around in the juice, and then I'm going to stick it back in the oven to finish cooking. So I'm going to keep the temperature at 350, and then I'm going to go ahead and let it cook for another 90 minutes. At this point, it's starting to look really good. It smells really good. The meat is falling off the bone. I'm just kind of pulling it apart to see if there's any pieces in there that need to be cooked a little bit more. But it looks really great, so I'm just going to let the sauce thicken a little bit more by putting it back in the oven at 350 for 30 more minutes with the lid off. If you've never made Asabuko, you need to. This was so good. All of the onions broke down, the tomatoes broke down, the flour created this thick sauce, and the meat was kind of like sticky. I just served it with some mashed potatoes and some asparagus on the side, and it was delicious. My kids really enjoyed it. I didn't put any sauce on theirs, just only on mine and my husband's. But yeah, everyone really loved it. I am totally going to make this dish again, and I hope you guys do too. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!